Hello there. This is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, welcoming you all back once again to another EE Live Q&A right here on the Express Entry Law Private Facebook group. I'm pretty stoked today because it is it just turned 12:01, and I'm actually starting on time, which is quite a miracle compared to most of these. I'm usually floundering, running around, printing off the emails, trying to get things set up. But today, folks, I actually feel like I've got things under control. We'll wait for people to start to jump on here live, and we'll see how kind Facebook is once again with allowing this feed to be visible within the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. Sometimes I just wonder how many of you guys are actually able to see this. And so I've been really pondering and thinking about different ways that I can do this so that it reaches the most people. So as everybody knows, today, Tuesday, is the day that I usually do it Mountain Standard Time. And this is, I try to do this for consistency. So at least everybody that's watching this and is trying to get their questions answered in terms of whether or not they're doing things properly with Express Entry, they'll know that now is the time to join. And so you do the best you can with consistency. All right, so at this stage, I'm going to wait for people to tune in. Make sure that you list below your location. Where are you tuning in from? I love to see all of different places all over the world. I have unbelievable respect for you diehard followers who are over all the way across the other side of the world where it might be midnight or 12:30 a.m. and you're still watching. So that's so cool that you've taken the time to join us. And those of you who've submitted questions are probably just anxiously waiting for me to respond. I also want to say hello to all of you out there that are watching this as a recording on the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. And I am really close to getting my new Canadian Immigration Institute website up, where it will be a central hub for everything. All of the courses that I offer, it'll have links to the podcasts that I do, and I've got a lot planned. And why do I have all this planned? It's because I now feel like I've got some support to help me push forward. And many of you guys already realize that I'm a one-hit wonder. I do this, I do the audio, I do the images, I do everything. And that probably is why the production quality isn't very good. But regardless, I'm just going to jump onto my screen here in the background and connect to our group. And this appears to be, at this stage anyways, the only way that I can actually see how things are working and if and actually who's leaving the questions for me. So let's see if I can find it live. I think I've succeeded here. I'm just going to shrink this down, shut my volume off. Okay. All right. So I think I'm up and running here for the most part. All right. So we've got Gurpreet who says, hi, Mark. Omer, hi. Once again, I have no clue what that emoji is, Omer. What is going on here? He's got two little white gloves. That's awesome. Okay. Hind, how are you? And I want you guys to know, if you look in the feed here, there is a new person joining us by the name of Stephanie Ducharme, and she is one of the big reasons why I'm going to start taking this stuff to a whole new level. So as some of you will know, one of my previous assistants, she's no longer with us, and so I was super fortunate to get Stephanie to apply for the job. And she's getting acclimatized to life working with me and Billy here in the office. And I'm super excited because she's got an interest in helping me with all of this, these Facebook posts and this live videos and helping to, to get the announcements out, because you guys know half of the time I just jump on live and many people who are maybe new to the group don't even know this is happening. And so I'm looking forward to having her help. And I want to point out for new viewers of this, that if you would like your question answered right here in the EE Live Q&A, what you can do now is send an email to Stephanie right here at stringham.ca, And don't forget to put EE Live Q&A in the subject line. And some of you will have already seen that as she posted one of the images and the announcements about this live Q&A just today within our Express Entry Law Private Facebook group. And she is now going to be the source and the organizer of all these questions to help free me up so I can do other things other than printing and searching for all your questions within the hundreds of emails I get every day. So special welcome to Stephanie. Great to have her joining me and a part of our team here at Stringham LLP. And so as we're going through here, if there's things that I need her to do or otherwise, she's going to be able to jump on and give me support, which is totally awesome. All right, so as we listen here, let's see where else everybody's tuning in from. So Afrasaib, you guys, your names are so awesome. You probably have trouble pronouncing my name. Okay, let's see if I can get this right. So it's Afrasaib. Awesome, welcome. Shaiful says hi, Mark. Kabir says hi. Muhammad, oh, isn't that nice? Muhammad says we love you. Well, isn't that kind? That's hilarious. Kabir says hello from India. All is doing very well, Kabir. Really, really good. And I'm actually going to share something with you guys in just a little bit that's making me really happy. And Hind is already putting questions out. Remember, guys, hold off on posting your questions until I give you the green light, and then you'll know that it's time. We always start with the listener questions here that were sent in via email. So remember, you can always do that. And then once we do that, then I start going through all of the questions that are posted right here live in the group. Serdia says hi. Let's see here. Afrasiab says, hi, Mark. This is my first time to connect with you. Really, you're an awesome guy. I also emailed you. Very cool. And we may very well have your question here. Yes. And Afrasiab says he's a doctor. Cool. All right. Ankush says, good morning. And Afrasiab is from Pakistan. Awesome. Okay, so as people are tuning in here, I just want to share a few quick things with you guys that are just happening in my life and what's making life so good. I just want to pop up just a couple little images here if I can find them. This is one and this is the other. And these two awesome kids make their dad super proud. My daughter here, Jessica, is actually both of them are out serving missions for our church. And Jessica is out in Indiana. She's in the US. And my son Adam is down in Suriname, or if you are a South American Spanish speaker, Suriname, which I just learned is how it is pronounced by some of those other neighboring countries. These kids are out serving missions for our church. And I'll give you a little bit of backstory. So for years and years, missionaries, when they went out, the girls would serve for a year and a half. Yes, that's 1 year and a half away from home, and the boys for 2 years. And you could speak to them on the phone 2 times, at Christmas time and on Mother's Day. And so that's basically what we did. And then every week they could, well, when I was on my mission in Portugal, it was letters we would send. But 1 day a week you could send a letter. And then, of course, email came around. So now we can email them. And we would do that religiously every week. They would send an email out to us and we'd respond and ask them how they were doing. And then just recently, the church decided to make a change. And the change is that we can now FaceTime them. We can use Google Hangouts. We can talk to them once every week on their 1 day that we call Preparation Day. And so it has been unbelievably cool because now we can find out exactly how our kids are doing. You know, it's not always easy to explain things in an email, but now we have the opportunity to actually talk to them. So it is awesome. So these are my 2 kids, Jessica and Adam. Super proud. Jessica is almost gone. She's almost been gone for a year. And she'll be coming home probably around October. And then Adam, he won't be coming home until August of next year. So that's what the Holthe clan is doing. And we've got 2, my wife and I are 2 very proud parents. And these kids are learning what it's like to be out in the world on their own and doing stuff that's important and really just finding themselves. So really cool. I just wanted to share that with all of you guys. So we'll pull them off. See you guys later. And yeah, so now that we're here, let's jump on. And I want to start right in with the questions that have been asked by our listeners via email. So before I tune in, let's see if any of you guys have actually listed where you're tuning in from. I think some people have already started posting. Okay, Jadet's from Dubai, and let's see, Mutaz is Egyptian, but he's in Minneapolis. Very, very cool. Prince is in Uganda. Very cool. Awesome. That's a new one. I don't think I've had anyone from Uganda for a while. And all right. Okay, so that's good. I'll jump right in now. Okay, the first question, and this one is from Raheel. And Raheel says, and I'm actually going to have Stephanie record the timestamps for these right here as well. But Raheel's question is, hope you're doing well. Me and my wife are on work permits in Canada right now. She is going to be the main applicant. Very cool. So Raheel says, I have a few questions. Okay, so one thing, Raheel, I'm only going to answer the first one that you've posed because I need to make time for other people. But your first one's a good question. And the question is, from when her experience should be counted? From the day she applied for her work permit or the day she received her work permit? After completion of studies, she immediately received a NOC B category job. And this is great. So if someone who didn't understand immigration got this question, they'd be saying, what the heck's going on? She can't work until she gets her work permit. But I understand, Raheel, what's going on here. So Raheel's spouse is actually here, completed her studies, as he's indicated here. And as a student in Canada, you can work up to 20 hours during the regular school semesters and then full time in the breaks. And so after she completed her studies, she applied for her post-grad work permit. And that's the work permit that Raheel and his spouse were waiting for. Now, Raheel, of course, is on a C-42 initially, which is the work permit that is probably used, and I'm assuming this, Raheel, that's used for spouses who are accompanying international students on study permits here in Canada. They can actually get an open work permit. So for this particular question here, when does the work experience start to count? Because there's no issues with Raheel's spouse continuing to work for the company that offered her this NOC B category job. That's great. That's not an issue at all. And then when the time comes to get the work permit, then she would switch from a student status to a worker. But here's the thing that's not written anywhere. The reality is IRCC actually will allow you to claim your work experience towards the Canadian Experience class from the very date that the work permit is applied for. So when you submit an online work permit extension, or even if you mail it via courier, which, guys, that's all going out the door. Immigration is moving to an entirely online system, so stay tuned. Most of the temporary applications are all going to be filed online, and they're not going to be accepting any paper ones anymore. But in this case, Raheel, you didn't even ask the right question. It's not when the work permit, well, I shouldn't say that she can actually start to count before. She can start to count that work experience towards express entry from the date that she submitted that application. So you just include proof of that, and then you're good to go. 1 second. Yes.
You want another line?
I'm doing a live express entry law video.
I will ignore it. Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so note to self, make sure that I put do not disturb on my phone before I start these. But hey guys, this is real. This is awesome. And that's our fantastic receptionist, Wendy. She is awesome. Or actually Lisa. Boy, that's awesome. So we have lots going on here in addition to what I'm doing here. The phone rings quite a bit, yes, and I do this at noon. If some people are wondering, why is it noon? It's because that's when my lunch break is. And Stephanie's so awesome. She agreed to take her lunch after so that she could help me with this. So thank you, Stephanie. Okay, so there's the response for Raheel. Basically, it's from the date that you submit your work permit application, the postgraduate work permit application. So that's the date that you can start to count your work experience from. And in all honesty, if I was submitting my application through Express Entry and I was submitting my eAPR, I would actually upload a copy or proof of when the work permit application was actually submitted to confirm that that's the date that the work history can start to count from. So great question. Whew, that one took a little bit longer than I anticipated, but that's okay. All right, so the next question, this one is from Tavleen. And Tavleen also asked a couple questions, but I'm just going to take the first one. Okay, greetings. Thank you so much for your valuable videos. I am the primary applicant and I do not have any visa refusal. Well, congratulations. That's great. My accompanying spouse has one visa refusal. All right. Okay. Now, it doesn't say right here where the visa refusal happened, but guys, it doesn't really even matter. So now I received a Schedule A for myself, primary applicant. Interesting. All right. So what's happening here is Tavleen has submitted the eAPR. And then when they completed the statutory information, there's some questions, statutory details. Basically, these ask, have you ever been refused a work permit or another visa to Canada or another country? That's one of the questions, and you have to answer truthfully. So Tavleen's spouse answered, yes, I was refused a visa. And now what's happening is Tavleen has actually got a request from IRCC to complete a Schedule A background declaration form. And that form is worded a little bit differently. And the question that Tavleen has is, how do I answer this? The question says, have you, or if you are the principal applicant, any of your family members listed in your application for permanent residence in Canada ever? And then that's the question, which is basically, committed, had a prior visa refusal. So that's the difference. So in the principal applicant for express entry, when you're doing your eAPR, it just asks about you. And then in the spouse section, you're just answering for yourself. But this was sent directly to Tavleen. So now he's wondering, well, what do I say? Because it is for me, but I didn't have a visa refusal. And Tavleen has very clearly identified, and right here, that it's also asking about or any of your family members. So how do you answer this? When it says any of your family members, then absolutely you're going to disclose, once again, the same thing that I'm assuming you disclosed previously about your spouse's prior visa refusal. And then I also want you to think very, very clearly, is there any chance that you could have forgotten anything else that could have been a prior refusal of a visa? Now, I'm not saying that's the case, but make sure that you turn your mind to it and ensure that you haven't somehow forgotten it. Because those of you who don't disclose prior visa refusals, especially to Canada, but many other countries, sometimes it can come back to haunt you. And if you haven't disclosed it, an IRCC, which is Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, the department who administers all of the immigration programs in Canada, if those officers find out that you haven't told the truth, you could be subject to a 5-year bar for misrepresentation. So you do not want that to happen. That would be terrible. So, and none of you need to be worried about disclosing prior visa refusals. It's not an issue at all. If you applied for a visitor visa to one country and you got rejected, who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. But what matters is that you tell the truth and you disclose it. Okay, Tavleen, fantastic. Next question coming up here is Arjun. And Arjun says the following. Hello, Mark. Warm regards from India. Literally, it's very hot and warm here. Seriously, Arjun, are you serious? It's freezing here. And I'm supposed to take our youth out sledding, which you probably don't do too much sledding in India. Let's just take a look and see what the temperature is here. I'm curious. Oh, look it's warming up. Look at that, minus 11, not bad at all. When I was out just this morning to run a couple errands before I came back into the office, it was minus 25. So you can see here that it is supposed to, well, let's see, when we start to do our sledding, it's going to be a little bit cold. We're planning on going about 7 p.m. and that looks about minus 16. So it's going to be a little bit cooler than I anticipated, unfortunately. But it is supposed to get up to, you can see here, minus 7 today, which is not bad. Now, I'm not even going to bother looking what temperature it is in India because that's just wrong. But that's okay because you have the benefits of nice warm weather. We have the benefits of nice cold weather here. And there's pros and cons to both. So at night, if I'm cold, I put a few more blankets on. I guess if you're too hot in India, maybe you have air conditioning. I don't know. But either way, there's advantages to both. But thanks a lot for pointing out how hot it is there on a cold day here in Canada. Here's a new word of the day, facetious. Okay. I finally filed my eAPR on March the 1st, 2019. Very cool. That was just recently, just a couple days ago, in which I got your valuable advice throughout. Cool. That's awesome. My question tonight is as follows. My medical is valid till the 1st of August, 2019. I need to know whether I have to undergo a new medical myself as soon as the medical expires, or should I wait for IRCC to request for the same? Can I undergo a new medical and upload via web form as soon as this medical expires? Please advise. Keep up the good work. Thanks and best regards, Arjun. Okay, Arjun, I can tell you that obviously timing is everything. And there is a chance that if a medical is expiring, that IRCC could request you to get a new updated one. Now, ultimately, an officer does have discretion in how they do that. The one factor that you always pay attention to is that if your medical is expiring and your eAPR is nearing approval, often the visa is only going to be valid until the expiry date on that medical. So my advice to you in these circumstances is, yeah, if you don't have an issue with it, go ahead, do another medical, another upfront medical. Make sure that you've provided the officer or the medical officer, the panel physician they're called, the doctor, with the information that you need so that he can match that up with your file. And ultimately, once you've got your e-medical information sheet, which is the one that they give you once you complete your medical, and you'll remember that because you did it when you first submitted your eAPR, then yeah, go through the case-specific inquiry and upload that and inform the government. It's going to be electronically transmitted from the doctor to immigration, and it might just save you a little bit of time. So there's no harm in doing it whatsoever. And so if you consider it, go ahead and do it. And I'll also let you in on a little secret. If you don't have any medical issues, and if that doctor does the examination and there's nothing to report, it's a pretty automatic transmission of information, and the medical is approved and it's in the system automatically. There's no live human doctor that reviews all of these medicals. Only if the panel physician indicates there's something to be double checked or something to look into, does an actual live officer at headquarters for immigration actually look at these. So yeah, so as far as timing, we'll just take a look and see if it looks like your application is not going to be approved and you suspect that you're not going to be able to actually land in Canada within that 1 year period from when you obtained your medical, then go do another one. Great. Great question, Arjun. Thank you. Okay, this one is from Rohit, and I absolutely love Rohit's handle here. So I'm going to block this off. I'm going to show you guys this. Check this out. I'd like to know the story behind this, but it's iron hide. I don't know what that is, iron hide. When I think of hide, I think of like hide from an animal. But I'll tell you, one drawback to being here in Canada when it's so cold out is that your skin just dries right out. And if I could show you on my hand how dry things get, we're always putting lotion on. And lately I have been so itchy. It's been so crazy just because I feel like the water's being sucked out of me. Now, in January, we had the pleasure of going to Maui with my in-laws and spending a week and a half there with my family, which was awesome. It was so awesome. And there, because it's so humid and nice, oh, it felt so good. I think I'm living in the wrong place. I think so. If Express Entry continues to grow, maybe I need to just set up a remote office somewhere else where it's a lot nicer, warmer, and humid. But with that being said, this weekend, guys, me and my brother are going to take our kids and our sons and, well, our daughters if they want to come. And we are going to camp overnight. And the temperature is not supposed to be too bad this weekend. I think Friday, you can see right here, Friday, the forecast is 0 degrees Celsius. And so that's pretty awesome. That's like, yeah, that's right at the freezing point, which is a lot warmer. And we're going to go camp outside. So we build a fire, we build a lean-to, which basically is logs that you cut and you lay down across one cross beam. One day. Maybe I'll take some pictures and I'll show you guys next week. But that's what we do here in Canada for fun. We go out, sleep outside. at night, get our nice warm sleeping bags. And those are memories that we create with our family. So that is coming up. Okay, let's jump back here to Ironhide. Rohit's question. He says, hi, Mark. Hope you are doing well. Thank you for creating this wonderful group and putting out videos about questions that are trivial, which otherwise may seem straightforward. Okay, that's awesome. I can't tell you how often people will say to me, oh, all the information is on the government website. It's not an issue. You don't need to hire anyone. You don't need any support. You could just read it yourself. Okay, well, possibly that may be the case. But sometimes what appears trivial or simple is actually a lot more complicated than you expect. And it's when people treat things lightly and don't take it seriously, that's when disaster happens. That's when applications get returned because they're incomplete. And that's when the person gets 1 year older, loses 5 comprehensive ranking system points, has their CRS score drop to 437, and loses their opportunity to immigrate to Canada forever. So those of you who say, it's simple, straightforward, think twice, because you guys are usually the ones who overlook how complicated things can really be. Okay, thanks, Rohit, for identifying that some things seem straightforward, but they're not always the case. So here's the question. While me and my wife were in Australia, we had learner's permits, but never drove a car there. In our traffic history report, there was 1 speeding offense for each of us. That's crazy. If you've never driven there, how do you get a speeding ticket? Okay, the offenses states exceeded speed limit by less than 10 kilometers per hour. Okay, that's not a serious violation. I'll let you guys in on something. 2 years ago, my wife was going with her family, on a trip to London. I was staying home to work, and my father-in-law called me and says, Mark, if you don't get here right away to the airport with your family, the airline has overbooked the flight. And if the other 2 people get here before your spouse, before Deanna and your daughter, Jessica, you're going to lose the flight and they're not going to be able to board. You better get here. And I thought to myself, what the heck is going on? And so I sped, and I didn't just speed a little bit. I think one stretch there was a posted 60 kilometer speed limit, and I may have been going 140, possibly. Well, I can tell you that that's probably not a good time to be caught by a police officer. And guess what happened to Mark? Yep, I was pulled over going 140 kilometers an hour on a stretch of road that was posted at 60 kilometers an hour. That's an automatic impounding of your vehicle and a court date set for you. So I had that happen to me, except my good fortune was that the police officer that pulled me over was someone that I knew. He wasn't a good friend, but he was a friend. And he said, Mark, what are you doing? And I said, my father-in-law said that if I don't get my family to the airport, they're going to miss their trip to London. And so he didn't impound the vehicle, but I did have to go to court. And fortunately, they didn't throw me in jail, but I did have a very, very hefty fine that I had to pay and a promise to slow down, which, of course, I have been very, very faithful in doing. And I no longer listen to my father-in-law when he tells me that I have to hurry. Okay, you guys didn't need to know that. But anyways, all right, so the offense states that they got a speeding ticket for going less than 10 kilometers over the speed limit. Rohit says, we have not paid the fines as obviously someone has misused our identity and put the fines on our names. That's crazy. I've never heard of that. I don't even know how that happens. I even had proof that I was not in the place of the offense at the particular time. My fine has been put on hold until they review my complaint. However, I haven't changed my wife's fine as we do not have proof that she wasn't at that place of offense. Her fine is overdue. Will this affect our PR application in any way? All right, so there's a couple things operating here, Rohit. Okay, the first is this is not a criminal offense at all. So when you have an offense, which this is probably a photo radar. In other words, if you never saw a police officer and they didn't actually pull you over and give you the ticket in hand, it's probably a photo radar, which is just a municipal offense. it's a traffic offense that is not at the level of a criminality that would make you inadmissible to Canada. In order for that offense to make you inadmissible, it requires it to be actually something of a criminal nature. And I'm not going to take the time to go through the whole process of criminal equivalency to Canada. I actually wrote a paper in law school on this topic for one of my perspective classes, actually in immigration. And having worked on the border as an officer, this is something that I dealt with all the time. And of course, in our office here at Stringham, we deal with rehabilitation and helping people overcome criminal inadmissibility all the time. It's just a reality. But in your case, Rohit, it does not make you inadmissible. And at the end of the day, these offenses, because they're not serious enough, the question comes, well, do I disclose it? Well, have you ever been charged? Have you ever been arrested? Have you ever been convicted of a crime in another country or Canada is the question. It's very broad. If you were actually arrested, then you need to disclose that, even if it didn't result in a conviction. But in this case, none of this really applies. It really doesn't. But if it's Australia, remember your traffic report for Queensland, and I think it's Victoria, those are the two that you need to include when you're providing your Australian police certificate. So if they show on there, which is probably the case for Rohit, you're just going to explain the situation. You probably don't even need to explain it really, but I would just put it in your letter of explanation that you did have these traffic offenses, but they were actually a case of, stolen identity or something, which is so strange. But even then, it's not a big deal. All right. Okay. You're free. You're safe, my friend. Continue on your journey to Canada. Okay. There's iron. Okay. Actually, Rohit, Ironhide. That is so awesome. Rohit, if you're on here, you got to tell me where that came from. Okay. And some of these people, obviously, that send in emails are followers of the Canadian Immigration Institute's YouTube channel. So they're subscribers. So they may not be watching this live. Okay. Next question. And this one is from Shadinma. It says, hi, Mark. When submitting documents for PR after receiving an invitation to apply, are you required to submit an employment reference letter for all the places you have worked or only the recent employment? Okay, two things to remember. One, the work history section, any work history you list there in that section, you're going to be asked to provide a reference letter. Two, if you choose not to put work history in that section, and I'll get to that in a little bit, then it's going to be listed in the personal history if your employment was something that happened within the past 10 years. So it's going to be in one or both of those places. So if it's in your personal history, you don't need to provide a reference letter. If it's listed in your work history, you do. But here's the catch. Remember, as a foreign national applying through the Federal Skilled Worker Program, the first step is to meet the eligibility criteria for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. In that assessment, there's the selection criteria that's very similar to the comprehensive ranking system, but don't confuse them. It's two separate assessments. In that process, you can claim up to 6 years of foreign work experience. So if you need to meet the pass mark for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, it's out of 100 points, and the pass mark is 67. So if you need all 6 years of foreign work experience to get enough points to meet that 67-point threshold, then that's the maximum work history that you need to list in your work history section of your express entry application. By putting 7, 8, 9, 10 years isn't going to give you any more points under the eligibility assessment for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. But here's the kicker. If you already meet the 67-point threshold with only 3 years of foreign work experience, and you're the principal applicant, remember, then you don't need to list any more than the 3 years of foreign work experience in your work history section, because the comprehensive ranking system only gives you points for up to a maximum of 3 years of foreign skilled work experience. Okay, so that's what you focus on, Shidna. If you've got enough work experience with just 3 years to meet the minimum requirements for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, then that's all you need to include within your express entry. But always remember, anything that you've done within the past 10 years always needs to be listed in the personal history section of your eAPR. So everything is accounted for, but it's just what you put in the work history that you have to prove with a reference letter. All right, last question. And guess who this question is for? Someone who's been so patient and challenged me to try to pronounce his name properly, Dr. Afrasiab. It's your turn, my friend. So thanks for being so patient. Okay, so here's the question that was sent in via email. Dear Mark, good day. I am Dr. Afrasiab, a medical physician, having a diverse experience in clinical medicine and as a general practitioner. I have a question that's for medical physicians. Which province of Canada is better to get settled in? And which province is easier and in demand of general practitioners? Last but not least, I got an ECA report from MCC Canada, which came out to be Doctor of Medicine. Is it equivalent to Master's while calculating the CRS? Okay, first question. As far as the province, doctors are never on in-demand occupation lists. At least rarely are they. But here, I'll share my screen, which I haven't done to this stage. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to go right here to Canada's Job Bank, which is jobbank.gc.ca. And this, guys, is where you go to get information about whether or not your job is in demand and whether or not there are jobs that may actually be available for you if you decide to immigrate to a certain province. Now, this is just a general guideline. But let's just take a look here, and we'll use Dr. Afrasiab's medical background as the occupation we're going to search. So you're going to go here, and you're going to search by Outlook. So this is kind of like, what does it look like for this job in Canada? And so from here, I'm going to put in doctor, and it doesn't matter what I do. We'll just say, let's see if we can find... Seriously, we've got homeopathy, we've got, okay, family doctor. We'll just go family doctor. And then we click search. And then this will give us an overview across the whole country. So you can see at the top here, we have basically kind of a rubric, I guess you could say, if I can highlight it. So there's either going to be not enough data, so they can't determine it. The outlook is good right here, or it's fair or limited. Good means there are way more jobs than there are doctors to fill them. Fair means it's about even. There's enough people looking for a job that we probably don't need more people looking because there's enough jobs for the amount of people looking. And then limited means doctors are looking for jobs because there just are not any job openings. And maybe we're producing more grads than we actually have jobs available for them to work in. So let's take a look here and see. So you can see Newfoundland generally over here on the right says 3 stars, okay? You can also go to specific regions. So here's the regional outlooks, okay? And you can see generally some of them are 2 out of 3. Prince Edward Island is a 3. Nova Scotia is a 3. New Brunswick's a 3. And you can see there's a lot of 3 stars. So if you can go through and actually get your credentials recognized and be admitted as a doctor, at least in terms of qualifications, then that's the first step into the process. And if you come and become a permanent resident of Canada, then obviously there are opportunities. Quebec is 3, Ontario is 3, Manitoba is 3, except for just North Region and the Parklands region. Saskatchewan actually is 2. So it looks like there's a lot of doctors there. And then Alberta is 3, subject to some places that are 2. And apparently they don't have enough data in Wood Buffalo to give an accurate report. But our region here, apparently Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, we've got enough doctors. But once it starts to stretch out into the rural areas, that's really where it's at. And then BC's 3. So you can do the same thing for your position. If you want to know what the outlook is for your position, this is a great place you can go. you just go to the job bank site, jobbank.gc.ca, and then go to the menu, click on By Outlook, and then once you're here, search for your position. So what's it like for lawyers? We punch a lawyer. Let's see what it's like for lawyers in Lethbridge, where I live. I'm curious. Haven't looked at this for a while. Okay, let's see what we got. Nunavut, Northwest Territories, Yukon, BC, Alberta, right here. Okay, Lethbridge says, oh, apparently we're in demand for lawyers in Lethbridge. Interesting. All right. Okay, I think you guys get the picture. And surprise, surprise, but that is the last email question of the day. And now for the balance, the remaining 20 minutes, I'm going to open up to all of you faithful live listeners to post your questions, and I will make sure that I can see them. And we will start. Actually, I'll answer the first question, and this is for Stephanie too, so she can know where I'm starting from. The first one that I have here is Jason. Let's see if I can find it. It just disappeared. Jason Walsh. So I'll start with Jason Walsh's question here, who lives in Toronto, Ontario. Okay, for a federal skilled worker, can the 1-year work experience be in different separate spells? 1 of 10 months and 1 of 4 months. Okay, Jason, let's go back to the source here and I'll fill you in. The short answer, my friend, is actually no. So let me go in here and let me just switch to the screen. The short answer is no. So if we go federal skilled worker eligibility, and I'll pull this up here, and you guys can all find this right on the government website itself. To be eligible for the federal skilled worker program, if we scroll down here till we get to the actual place where it talks about work experience, you need to have at least right here 1 year of continuous work. It has to be in the same NOC code. It has to be within the last 10 years. It has to be paid, okay? The 1 year continuous is the thing that basically undermines your eligibility. So you have to be working continuously for 1 year. That's not, and it has to be 1,560 hours total. I don't like why they have this here. At least 1 year of continuous work or 1,560 hours total. I actually don't like this or. I'm not sure why they put this. And this is where the government policy on their website sometimes can be misleading for people. But no, there's a reason it's bolded, because if you don't have that 1 continuous year, then you don't meet the minimum eligibility criteria for the federal skilled worker program right here. And that's really the question that you're asking. So my friend, sorry, the answer to that one is no. Okay, let's see if I can jump back here, and as everybody's questions are now piling in like crazy. This is the fun part. Okay, next one here. Afraz says, hello, Mark. My brother applied for express entry. And let's see. Okay. Your brother should be on here, my friend, asking these questions. It's over 6 months and there's been no progress with his application. We called the call center and the agent said that eligibility, security, and criminality does not seem to be started yet. He sent an email to IRCC for follow-up. Is this normal? What is this email that he sent to IRCC and how useful is it? What is this email that he sent to IRCC and how useful is it? I have no clue about that. But Afraz, if you have reached the 6 month of processing, there's 2 things I'll ask you. One, did at some point in that time they come back and ask for additional information? Was there some additional request that IRCC made? Because if they did, then you have to understand that from that point on, the 6 month processing time no longer applies. So 80% of the applications will be processed within 6 months. And in your case, if you have your brother has had his application over 6 months, well, he could just be within that 20%. But if it's stalled out and you're not sure what the issue is, it hasn't actually reached the security or criminality check stage, then the question I always ask is there must have been something that has changed. Either they've come back and requested something, or there's been something that you've had to identify. But if none of those things apply, you've never heard from them, it's just been sitting in the queue, then you might want to do an ATIP, an access to information request, and just obtain a copy of the Global Case Management System notes, the GCMS notes. Sometimes that can reveal what's kind of hanging an officer up. And what are some of the things that cause delays? Well, maybe there's an issue with the work history. Maybe the work history that's been listed, an officer is having trouble verifying it. That's often very, very common. So that's probably one of the places that I would look to. All right. Okay. Next question is from Kabir. Kabir says, "Sir, request you to answer this question." Kabir, your request is granted. I'm claiming points for my relative, 5 under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Okay, so remember, this is different than the comprehensive ranking system. However, my aunt is currently in India for a holiday. Do I need to mention this with a letter of explanation? Please let me know. Thank you. Can I not claim points? Thank you. The key is your aunt on a holiday that's lasting 1 year and she actually only comes back to Canada to visit periodically? In that case, I would say that she's probably not currently residing in Canada, which you wouldn't be able to claim 5 points. But if your aunt truly is on a holiday for a month, it's not an issue. You're still going to claim her. She's going to include a copy of her, her utility bill from her home, her, her passport, Canadian passport or citizenship certificate, and then her birth certificate showing that your parents, whether it's your mother or your father, is siblings with her. So yeah, you'll proceed forward with that. All right, Kabir, good question. All right, this one's from Prashant. And Prashant says, "Thank you so much for all your help you have been providing to Canadian aspirants like me and many others with all your knowledge and advice." Guys, I want to thank you. You guys thank me a lot, but our whole Express Entry group, and if I share my screen with you guys, I'm going to share it right here. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you this group right here. You have become so massive. This isn't right anymore. It's not 119. Oh my goodness, look at this. We are just about up to 120,000 again after Facebook did its major cull and kicked out all the people in our group that I probably should have never added into the group in the first place. I think we lost about 2,500 because we were up to 121,000, I think, a few months back. Well, we're on the verge of 199. And thanks to my moderators, they've been adding people. But anyways, what I'm getting at here is I want to say thank you to you guys, because now the only time I have is to do these EE Live Q&As. Sometimes I'll pop in and start to answer questions here. But the reality is when people are posting all these questions, you can see Nitin posted a question and look at the responses. People are so kind, and it's all because of you that this group is so good. You guys are the ones that are so helpful, that work to answer each other's questions. And when you're stuck, then that's usually when people will contact me and book a paid consultation for me to resolve something that you're not able to resolve otherwise. And I think all of you know, and Stephanie can probably post this within the comments section, right here is where you can actually schedule a consultation with me. And in 30 minutes, I can usually, and right now it says 30 minutes here, it's actually about 25 minutes because I take 5 minutes to actually review your questions before we jump on the call. But that 30-minute consult for $200 Canadian plus 5% of our service sales and service tax, which is about $10, I guess. That cost, usually in 30 minutes, I can answer your questions. But for those of you who are just answering routine, everyday types of questions, it's you awesome people within the group that go out of your way to answer. So I want to thank you guys for being so kind and generous and helping one another and making the group as awesome as it is. Okay, let's shift back here to where I was at and see if I can find the question that the last question that I left off at. All right, let's see here. Oh, look at that. Stephanie's already posted it. She is so fast. Okay, let's see here if I can figure out where we left off. And guys, if I don't get to your question, my apologies. I will do the very best that I can. Okay. Okay, so Prashant, back to his comment here. He says, I received an ITA and I'm filling the form. So he's completing the eAPR. I'm confused about travel history section. And I am confused why my throat is so dry. Actually, I'm not confused. It's because I'm talking so much. Okay, I received an ITA and I'm filling the form. I'm confused about travel history section. I'm a Nepalese citizen, however, had studied and currently working in India in the past 10 years. How do I fill travel history between Nepal and India? Okay, so how I treat this, and this is something that I'm actually going to try to seek clarification from IRCC. In your address history, you're going to list where your address is, where your permanent place where you're residing. It could be where you're born. It could be where you're studying. But in your address history, you're going to indicate where you live. For travel history, what I do is I list travel, any travel where I leave where I'm permanently residing. So if I go back somewhere for a visit or a holiday, and then I return back and that residence hasn't changed, then that goes in the travel history section. If, for example, in your case, you've indicated Nepal and India, if Nepal is your place where you're a citizen, but you're living in India going to, let's see, studies here, you're going to school, and you go home for a month while you're still in, studying in India, you go back to Nepal, then I would put that travel back to Nepal in the travel history section. Even though it says in the travel history instructions to list all travel outside of your country of citizenship or country of permanent residence, I think it says. And that's basically how I treat it. So by doing that, then you are always going to be letting IRCC know where you're at all times in the past 10 years. You're either living in a country or you've traveled somewhere else, which could be back to your home country, but at all points in time, IRCC knows where you're at. And I think that's the underlying reason why they word it the same way, but I probably would have worded it a little bit differently because it is confusing. But there you go. Hopefully that was helpful for you, Prashant. Okay, Emeka says, if you are nominated through the provincial nominee program after your file has expired in the express entry pool, what happens? Okay, well, ultimately, a nomination does tend to be linked to a particular profile. So here's my response to Emeka. I would contact the particular PNP that you've been nominated by. Make sure you immediately create a new profile if your other one has expired, and then request instructions. Generally speaking, I don't anticipate them getting too worked up over your profile expiring, but understand that the notification of interest, if that's the case, because that's kind of where you're going to be at, you'll receive an indication that they want to sponsor you. You've indicated here a nomination. I don't know if that's the proper word, because if you've actually been nominated, hopefully your profile hasn't expired before you've had a chance to submit your eAPR. But if it has, and you have an actual nomination certificate, then just go back to the province, see if they have any issues with you with this expired profile. But I'm pretty sure when you create a new one, it's not going to be an issue. You're going to make sure you identify in your new profile. It'll ask if you've ever submitted an application for permanent residence before. Technically, you haven't, but you were issued an electronic file number and even a UCI, a unique client identifying number, when you submitted that first profile. So make sure that you tie that into your new one so that everything's together and that you're working through the same UCI number, and then just get confirmation from the province. And I'm sure that they're probably going to say, yeah, just create the new profile. It's not an issue, but always seek clarification because every province is just a little bit different. Okay, let's see. Where are we at now? We're moving down. This is Kabir. He says, sir, request you to answer this question. You've already asked that one. Mohammed says, dear Mark, I received some bonus. Okay, after 2 to 3 months from my employer, the bonus is decided by my project manager at his discretion. However, he is not willing to mention this in my employer reference letter. Can I explain this bonus amount in letter of explanation? Mohammed, yeah, if you want to. If the payroll statements or pay stubs that you're including within your work history actually show quite a bit more income than the letter states, yeah, a letter of explanation will do just fine. That's how I'd address it. And I'd include that letter of explanation at the beginning of your reference letter and the other documents you're using to support the work history for that particular position that you held. Okay. Ibrahim says, hi, Mark. I miss your podcast. Ibrahim, I have a brand new one that you guys are actually going to want to listen to. And I have it recorded here. If I can pull this up right here in my, right there. It is my Roland digital recorder. I just did an awesome podcast that I haven't released yet with a company who provides insurance, health insurance for new immigrants and people that arrive in Canada, because you guys have to realize that the Canadian healthcare system is actually different based on which province you're going to. And one of the things that people don't realize is that in some provinces, there's a 90-day waiting period. And so you've got 90 days where you don't have any health coverage. And if you get sick or something happens and you have to go to a hospital, it could cost just thousands of dollars for that treatment. Let's say you're new to the Canadian roads and you get in an accident and get hurt. Well, your coverage in some provinces doesn't kick in until 90 days after. And there's different rules, obviously. But if that's the case, which ironically is the ones that you guys are going to more often than not, Ontario and British Columbia, but you have to be aware of that. And so anyways, I brought a guest on to talk about our Canadian health system to just educate you guys and then give some tips and solutions on how best to deal with it, and obviously explains a bit about the services that his company offers. And so stay tuned. I'm going to try to get that one posted right away. For the rest of you wondering, what the heck is this guy talking about? What is this podcast? Well, guys, it's the Canadian Immigration Podcast right here. And you can actually search for it in iTunes and just download it. And so the last one we talked about was actually January was the last one I released, refugee law. But this one's going to be coming out, and there's topics on a ton of different areas. It's not just express entry. This is all kinds of different immigration. So just thought I'd give a little shout out to that. And let's jump back here and continue moving down. We are just about out of time here. Let's see if I can figure out where the last question was. All right. Searching. There. I'm not going to get to a lot of questions today, guys, so I apologize. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Oh, awesome. Okay. I actually, this is so distracting. This is crazy. All right. Where are we? There is so many questions, guys. I'm really sorry. Maybe, do you know what? Because we've got so many questions here and there's so many faithful people watching, I might go into a little extra time here. So hopefully Stephanie will stick it out with me. I'll go into just a little extra bonus time. Okay, let's see if I can get back to the question that I had asked. Okay, so there we go. Now we're on to Maureen. And Maureen says, hi, Mark. I got a Bachelor of Education. She put a bed. I'm like, oh, interesting. You got a bed. Okay, a Bachelor of Education, I think, early childhood education, a higher diploma in HR management in the past 10 years. I only worked as an early childhood educator from 2010 to 2015. And then from 2015 to date, I'm after school private tutoring. Can I still apply using my 2010 to 2015 experience? 100%, Maureen. 100%, of course you can. And remember what I said about work history. If you meet the Federal Skilled Worker Program eligibility with just 3 years, then 3 years is all you need to prove. Although, if you've got your ECE work experience from 2010 to 2015 with the same employer, you're going to be claiming all of those 5 years anyways. Okay. Kara throws out, do I need to get a visa first to apply for PR? Nope, you don't. In fact, Kara, you can submit your profile without having a visa to Canada. But if you want to participate in express entry, you actually need to complete your your English language test through IELTS or CELPIP if it's offered in your region. So you need to do the English test, and you pretty much need to get your educational credentials assessed as well to know what they really equate to. And then you can submit your profile. All right. It's also possible to do kind of some estimates of what your CRS scores are, but at this stage, nope, no visa. Okay, Arum says, I'm 41 and a business process improvement person. That's kind of like management consulting. Cool. I have experience in healthcare of about 5 years plus. I'm told by various people I'm not eligible. I need professional advice, please, on any options available for me and my family. Okay, great question. And my response, whenever someone asks, do I qualify for express entry? That's actually legal advice. So I don't give that kind of specific advice on eligibility because there's a whole lot more to it. It requires me going through not only your background, but your spouse's. And it may be that express entry isn't an option for you, but there may be some other options. So I always direct people back, Aram, to book a paid consultation. And Stephanie has already posted the link to the consultation page where you can go to actually book your consult, which is right here, stringham.ca/immigration-mark-Holthe. And that will get you there. All right. Okay. Jumping back here again. And if I can find the right screen, I've got so much going on here. Okay. So cruising down here a little bit further. Let's see if I've lost everything again. There's so many questions. Where? See, that's what happens when I switch my screen. Then it flips back and then I lose track of where I was at and I spend half an hour trying to find it. Okay. Oh, yes. Rohit. Awesome. Here's the response. Thanks, Mark. Ironhide is an Autobot in Transformers. Sweet. That is so cool. You got to watch. What's the Beetle one with the Beetle? I can't remember what it's called. We watched it with my family. Anyways, the latest Transformer one with the yellow Volkswagen Beetle or whatever it is. Is that what it is? I think it's a Beetle. Cool. Awesome. As for our speeding ticket, it was captured on camera. Yep. That's exactly what I thought. Man. And you can transfer the camera speeding ticket to other person saying that it was he or she who was driving your car. We had lost our bag, which had our wallets. Guess that's where the identity theft got our details from. Thanks for the insight. That is hilarious. Well, it's not hilarious, but that's crazy that happened. Here in Canada, when you get a photo radar, whether it was you driving or one of your children, it just comes back to you and you have to pay it. So it's not particularly assigned to anyone. It's just a penalty for whoever was the registered owner of the vehicle. Okay. Okay. Hind says, I got COPR and a visa valid until August 1st, 2019. I'm planning to move to Canada by July. That is so awesome. That is so awesome. I'm also going to get married next month. That is crazy. That is insane. That is going to be so painful, but congratulations. And hopefully get COPR and visa for him as well. My question is, what will I need to do to add him? What documents will I need to upload? Thanks in advance. Hind, I can tell you that book a consult with me and I'll work through it, because you can now officially add on another 6 months of processing of your application, probably, trying to add the new spouse. Obviously, you can't add them now because you're not married. But when that time comes, then it can be a real headache. But what I can do, if you book a consult, we can talk about everything that you need to do, but that's definitely outside the confines of something I can address here in a comment on a Facebook post. Okay, Ranjad Singh says, we'll contact you soon personally for a one-on-one. Awesome. I look forward to you reaching out. And remember, right here, I'm going to shift back to here. Remember, right here, Stephanie at stringham.ca. That's where you can go if you have questions for our EE Live Q&A. And in your case, remember the link that Stephanie has actually put right in our Express Entry Live Q&A, right on the Express Entry Law Facebook page, Facebook group right here. That link you can access, Ranjad, to get your consult booked. Okay, Emeke says, hi Mark, if one is nominated through the PNP after his or her profile expires on the what happens. Okay, I addressed that one to Mecca. Patience, guys. Don't keep asking the same one. Okay. All right. Maru says, how do people have high CRS scores like 450? Great question. They have it because they're probably not much older than 30 years old. They have at least a master's degree. Their English language scores on the IELTS are at least an 8 in listening, 7 in reading, writing, and speaking, and they have at least 3 years of skilled work experience abroad. That's pretty much it, Maru. If you are older than 30, you start losing points. And if you don't have 3 years of skilled work experience, you lose points. But it's usually age that hurts people, and their language scores are not high enough. All right. Okay, Hassan says hi from Kuwait. Hello, my friend. Okay, Unique says, Unique Heart. That's really interesting. Hi, Mark. I want to ask you that I'm working in a new company, and the owner of the company sending me salary directly to my account from their account. So I want to know, can I show my 1-year salary statements like directly receiving from the owner account for express entry, or any other skilled programs once year will be completed? Okay, the question I think is about receiving payment. If you're having your pay directly deposited into your account and you've got a record of that, that's awesome. Absolutely. You're going to provide a copy of your bank statements showing that. So that's totally fine. I'm assuming that maybe there isn't pay stubs issued or something like that, but that's a great start. You can totally use that. Okay. Let's see. Siwa, your question, my friend, is too long right now. I'm going to skip through it. Okay, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna try to be fair here to everybody, but try to keep your questions really short, okay? Sua says, in my PR application, I mentioned 3 months overlap experience of 2 employers in 2 different countries. However, I claimed the CRS points for company B. Okay, I worked company A. I worked for company B from January 2018. Oh, sorry, those of you who are watching this on the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel, you can't see this, but everybody else can see the questions that I'm asking. Okay, so there's overlap. Both details I've mentioned in personal history and work history. Do you think 3 months overlap experience will any impact on my PR application? Well, the response is pretty simple. I'm assuming that one of the work histories that you've got there was done like remotely, like online, where you provided services virtually. I have to assume that's the case, because you can't be physically in 2 countries working for 2 different companies. You'll need to definitely provide a letter of explanation if that's the case and you want to claim that. Okay? All right. Rura says, hello, Mr. Holdy. Hope you're doing well. Doing great. Jazz Deep says, hey, Mark. Hey, my friend. Manny says, hi, Mark. I've recently applied under the express entry, but my CRS is 407. With my brother being a resident of Alberta, Canada, do I have any chance of PNP, not code 0125? Manny, it's unlikely, my friend. Your scores are just too low, and Alberta usually only pulls people who've actually worked in Alberta and are living in Alberta. Family in Alberta is important. It is, and it does give some possibilities, but yeah, I think you're probably not a candidate for the express entry stream through the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program. Okay, so let's see. Manny, so Kara comes back and says, there's no Canadian visa center in my country. I'd like to know if I need to apply for a visa before applying for PR, simply to save time and money. No, it doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't. Okay, let's try to jump through. So once again, guys, please don't post the same question over and over, because it just irritates me, and then I won't answer any more of your questions anymore. It's really confusing. Okay, Prashant says, thanks so much, Mark, for taking time and clearing my doubts. Always nice to hear from you. You are very welcome. And then Aram's complaining here, you missed my question. Okay, unhelpful. I think I answered your question, Aram, but maybe not. I don't know. Faraz says, hello, Mark. What does PCC review required stat questions mean in my GCMS notes? Spouse shows PCC criminality passed. I answered yes to a statutory question for a denied work visa in the UAE. Well, basically, they've got to do background checks to look further into the answers that you gave within your statutory questions. and they're reviewing your background history. That is it. Okay, I'm going to end right there, guys. We are crossing over into just about an hour and 10 minutes long. And as I've gone through this process, I've realized that for you guys that are attending this, it's really, it's good. But there's a lot of people who miss out on all these awesome questions and answers because no one wants to sit and just watch an hour and 10-minute video. Well, I shouldn't say that because many of you guys do. But in order to try to make things a little bit simpler, I think what I'm going to start doing is little short 1-minute videos each day, if I can work this out. Stephanie's going to help me to try to sort this out, where I answer questions about Express Entry in a very bite-sized little small piece so that it's easy to consume, easy to review. And that's probably the direction that I'm going to be going, I think, in the future. I'm going to keep doing these because I love doing them. But as always, I want to direct all of you guys back to the sponsor and the whole reason I can do this, which is the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself. And those of you who are listening to this live or watching it through the YouTube channel, I am offering a very special reduced rate for all of you faithful listeners that I don't advertise all over the place, only for people who take the time to actually watch. And I only really announce it at the end of these as well for people who stick around long enough. If you are interested in getting help to do your application, but you feel like you don't need to actually hire someone else to do it, one of the best solutions for you is to consider subscribing to my Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself. And it's really easy to access it. And I'll have Stephanie maybe post the link there. But all you really need to do is to type CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com into your browser, and it will take you, hopefully, right here where you can enroll. And this guide, there's a couple different options, but the one that I've got a special deal for all of you guys is the lifetime access. So regularly it's $497 US, but if you click here on enroll, and then you click on add coupon, and then type in EEDIY 50% and apply, it will give you 50% off lifetime access to the course. And for those of you who are wondering, well, Mark, what is this all about anyways? If you go to the front page here, the landing page, you can get a really good understanding of what this is all about and why I created it. And I'm not going to take a bunch of time to talk about it, but here you'll see an overview of the curriculum. And guys, it covers everything. And I literally walk you through step by step through the whole Express Entry journey. From the beginning, what is it? For people who really don't even know what Express Entry is, and then things you need to do before you even start preparing to enter your profile into the system. Module 3 is all about the Express Entry profile, and it covers every section, all the sections for you and your family, and that's not it. Even more, it goes into the eAPR once you've gotten your ITA and how to complete each of these sections. And I even have a special module dedicated entirely to documents, which you guys know, that's the part where most people fall off the rails. And if that wasn't enough, you can see here that I have this massive database of tons of videos that are much more focused on various topics related to Express Entry. And you can see it just scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. So this is the one-stop source of pretty much everything that you would need to know to file your own Express Entry application. And if you act now, you can get that 50% off. And for those of you who are just looking for a little introduction to it, you can purchase a 1-month subscription that automatically renews for $97 US. And that is what I got going. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I am in the process of launching my Canadian Immigration Institute website, where it will be the central hub for all of this awesome stuff. I'll have all my special offers. I'll have everything, more content. I'm in the process of trying to finalize my study permit guide, which I've been pushing and working hard to try to get out. And it takes a long time to do it right because I don't want to just submit junk. And so it takes a long time when I'm busy working on client files. And the last couple of months have been kind of tough because I've been a little short-staffed here. But now that Stephanie's here, life is good. All right, guys, this is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, wishing you guys all the best as you're navigating this crazy world that we all call express entry. Take care.